So today I'm continuing our series on what is the purpose of youth ministry. And last week we looked at some of the problems we face. And this week I wanted us to look at what is our guide? What should be guiding us when it comes to youth ministry? Now, we have discussed some about how there has been a shift in the family dynamics of what families really find important, or as other people have worded it, the hyper good. And right now, the hyper good, or the most good that families are focused on, is safety and happiness of their kids. They want their kids to be safe at all times, and they want their kids to be happy. Part of the issues that have come up with that is that parents, in their desire to make sure their teens have remained safe and happy, it has caused them to even try to help their teens to avoid emotional trauma at all costs, but that's also resulted in the stunted growth of many teens, where because they've always been protected, they haven't truly had to learn of how to get through adversity or struggles or pains. Now, obviously, different teens in different settings encounter this different ways, where this does tend to be more of a suburban problem when it comes to families and not as much for other settings. And so we find parents being very focused on keeping their teens safe at all costs, which at times stunts their growth as people because they haven't had that challenge of pushing through those difficult times. But also, we find in the pursuit of the hyper good of happiness, this results in parents wanting their teens to find out who they are from a very young age. That's why we see parents, even with very young children, signing their teens up, not teens, sorry, signing their children up for many, many, many activities. You know, you hear little Susie, who is 5, and she is signed up for gymnastics, cheerleading, soccer, and occasionally horseback riding. And these parents are trying to juggle these crazy schedules for a 5-year-old. And usually that results in the family being stressed, overloaded schedule wise, but it's all in that pursuit to try to help that child grow into a teen who knows what their niche is and then to pursue that so they can be happy and so they can be successful. Now, one of the difficulties that we are running into right now when it comes to youth ministries is in past years, youth pastors had gotten comfortable with the idea that when it came to families, especially religious families, youth ministry was high up there on the list because parents were looking for opportunities to slow their teens' lives down, that safe environment to give them something positive and something that they could engage into. Well, now, not as many parents are looking for opportunities for their teens to slow down because their teens are already involved in so many activities. So, one of the things that's been challenging for youth pastors is understanding that youth ministry is no longer at that top of the list, that youth ministry is much farther down and is looked at as almost supplemental. That parents would say they enjoy the youth ministry, teens would say they enjoy the youth ministry, but when it comes to the priority of different activities, youth ministry is definitely significantly lower on the list than what it was because youth ministry is looked at as just one of many options that helps teens figure out who they are. And more likely, youth ministry is looked at as the thing that helps teens discover how to be nice, good, moral people. Where I believe when we look at the message of Jesus, it's significantly deeper than just being a nice, moral person. You can discover those things in many other avenues. And so we have to look at what is guiding us. Is when it comes to our identity, is our identity found in Christ, or do we treat our faith and treat uh, the church as just one of many choices in life that we occasionally pull from for our enjoyment and satisfaction? Almost like a life buffet. And we occasionally pull from church or youth ministry. So there's a big contrast here. And that's what I'm trying to get us to acknowledge and to see when it comes to what is the purpose of youth ministry. Because if Christ is what guides our lives, then our high priorities of safetyness and happiness are going to come into conflict with that. It reminds me, recently I was reading some of the Chronicles of Narnia books to my daughter, and we finished The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And one part in there, in that book, young Susan is talking to Mr. Beaver and is learning about Aslan, who, for those of you who don't know, Aslan in this book is the Christ figure. And Mr. Beaver says that Aslan is a lion, the great lion. And young Susan says, "Oh, I thought he was a man. Is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion." Safe? Mr. Beaver says. Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe, but he is good. He is the king, I tell you. So I like how this book emphasizes how no, Jesus isn't safe. And following Jesus isn't safe. And so this is where we have to decide what is going to guide churches. What is going to guide youth ministries? What is going to guide families? Will youth ministries just be a safe place? Will youth ministries just be the safe place where teens can have a little bit of fun, where teens can hear a little bit about Jesus, learn to be a good person, and have some opportunities to serve others? Or will we realize that Jesus is revolutionary and that to follow Jesus will turn our lives and our ministries upside down if we follow him? Most people aren't comfortable with that. We have been very good. We've become very good at reading the words of the scriptures, but then keeping the truth of them at a distance. But to follow Jesus is risky, but it's worth it. And when I talk about youth ministries being risky, I'm not talking about things where like, oh, you're on a mission trip and you take a teenager and you duct tape them to the roof and you drive around the parking lot. That's not risky. That's just stupid. So risky, but risky is stepping out of our comfort zones, of being willing to look past our own preferences, desires, and wants and say, what does God desire for me? What does God desire for those around me? What does God call me to do in my school, with my family, in the community? And what does that look like? And how can I faithfully follow it? That is risky. And when we encounter the living God, it should change our personal lives, but also corporately, how we function as a church and how we function as a youth ministry. So we need to once again ask that question, what is guiding us? What is the purpose of youth ministry and what is guiding us? Is it Jesus or is it something else? Next time, the next video, I'll be looking at the ordeal we face and how our guide, being Jesus, can help us with that ordeal. Hope you all have a great day. Take care. God bless. See you soon.